the stars of the 1996 races here. Then, as Frank Biela headed for an Audi victory and his championship title, teammate John Bincliffe fought a spectacular battle for second with Rickard Rydell's Volvo. Then it was Biela who took the checkered flag, but today it's a happy Bincliffe in front with his first pole position.
If we can make a good start and then make no mistakes, I think we've got a good chance, especially here where I think the overtaking areas are into the hairpin at the bottom down here and then in the first corner. But if with our car we've got good brakes, we can brake late, then we should be able to.
End of the grid, it's a first pole position for Yorkshireman John Bincliffe with his Audi teammate Frank Biela alongside. Row 2, Renault and Volvo, Menu and his nearest championship rival Rickard Rydell. Ahead of the Scotsman Anthony Reid and James Thompson, fully recovered from his crash at Croft. He's ahead of Tarquini in the second Honda and the Mondeo of Radicic in 8th. David Leslie should have been 9th, but he's starting from the pit lane, leaving Jason Plato ahead of Kelvin Burt and Patrick Watts, Volvo and Peugeot, with Tim Harvey and Derek Warwick 13th and 14th. John Cleland and the leading Total Cup independent Rob Gravitt are 15th and 16th. But in the pit lane, there is David Leslie's Nissan Primera. The team are working frantically to repair a dragging clutch. On the front row of the grid, the lights are already on. Bincliffe and Biela 35 laps ahead of them, and it's go! Great start for both the Audis. A slow start though for Rydell in the Volvo. He's cutting across in front of Anthony Reid's Nissan. It's down to Duffer Stiff, dropping over 100 feet as you take the right-hand turn. And it's John Bincliffe in the lead. The Englishman leads the German in the Audi 1-2. Then it's Biela, Menu, Rydell, Thompson on the outside, then Reid, Radicic, then Tarquini, Burt and Plato. And already out of Duffus into McIntyre's. It's the two Audis, then the Renault, then Rydell's Volvo. Fourth, holding off Reid and Thompson. And already the top three starting to break away. But that's the man that was throwing up the dirt in the background. It's Patrick Watts off in the kitty litter at McIntyre, spinning in wheels, trying to get back on the track. The leader's already through Clark's Curve, on the run up to Taylor's the hairpin. It's Bincliffe, Biela, Menu, Rydell, then the tight defensive line from Anthony Reid, holding off James Thompson. Gabriele Tarquini up to 7th past Radicic, then it's Burt, Plato, Clement going around the outside as well. All action on this very short circuit. Lap times just 55 or less seconds across the line for the leaders. The Audi's pulling away, but look behind, a fantastic battle, 5th and 6th place, and another one for 11th place. Harvey in the gold-fronted Peugeot and John Cleland. Look at the top of our screens. A car is running very wide indeed. It's Tim Harvey, and he's hurtling back onto the track, down the hill, off the dirt, back onto the tarmac, through the right-hander at McIntyre's, but he's lost a lot of ground. Meanwhile, the leader's already throwing the cars over the curbs at the chicane, heading towards the Clark Curve. The car goes very light, flicks itself out onto the curb on the outside, and you've got to keep the foot nailed to the floor because you've got the railway straight. Then Taylor's turn, the hairpin. 130 miles an hour, down to 50 miles an hour. First or second gear for the hairpin if you can control the wheel spin, and that's where the Audis have got the advantage. Alan Menu in hot pursuit in 3rd place. He's got the two-wheel drive Renault. The Audi's a little heavier, but out of that tight hairpin, that four-wheel drive just digs in and catapults them out. But we look back at the chaos up at Duffer's Dip last time around. Tim Harvey gets a nudge on the tail from John Cleland. Derek Warwick goes ahead of Cleland in the two Vectras, and Harvey takes to the dirt. Biela, the 1996 champion, is crawling all over the back of his teammate John Bincliffe. And the rule in Audi is the team manager has said no team orders. Whoever is out front can stay out front. But McBeeler, as it says on the rear window, is trying everything he can to close in on his teammate. Now, John Bincliffe's in the 1996 car. Biela is in the latest 97 development car, but Bincliffe has chosen a harder compound tyre for his car. That means that he may be slower in these earlier laps, but he could have the advantage later in the race. Biela has to worry a little bit about tyre wear. Bincliffe maybe not so much. But at the moment, Frank Biela is also having to worry about Alain Menu. Alain Menu needs to win one of these two races this weekend to clinch the crown, the British Touring Car Championship title. And Alain Menu is pushing very hard indeed. He is right with the two Audis. Meanwhile, John Clark across the line to start lap 15. The two Audis are nearly 3 seconds ahead of the Swiss Alain Menu. And 3rd place will not be good enough for Menu to clinch the championship, because his nearest rival, Rickard Rydell, is behind him in 4th place in the Volvo. Rydell 4th, then it's Anthony Reid in the Nissan 5th, then the two Hondas, James Thompson and Gabriele Tarquini, as the cars hurtle over the curbs at the chicane. This one of the most spectacular tracks anywhere in Great Britain and probably in Europe. Through Clark curve, riding with Ricard Rydell, looking back from the roof of his Volvo S40 at the Nissan Primera of Anthony Reid. Now onto the railway straight, up to maximum speed, 130 miles an hour at the end of this short straight. Hard onto the brakes, less than 100 metres from the corner. Down to 50 miles an hour, down to second gear, trying to control the wheel spin out of the corner. Then it's flat out, full throttle, up over the blind brow on the start line. And right in the Peugeot, he's slithered straight on off the track into the gravel trap, fired the engine up. Now he's got to get the car into reverse gear to get it back off that gravel. You can see it rocking. Those sequential gearboxes, it's very, very difficult to get the car into either reverse or first gear. And Watts is struggling. Meanwhile, though, Will Hoy in the second of the Mondeos is driving superbly. Started 21st and last. He's already up to 14th place, and that is really showing the potential of that car, because the Mondeo is literally flying. Audis. And there's tyre smoke, and there's dirt flying down at the hairpin, and it's Jason Plato. Plato, in the second of the Renaults, was running in 10th place. He's had a desperate weekend. Car would not handle in qualifying, and it looks like it's bitten him again. Meanwhile, Ricard Rydell is still holding off the Nissan Primera. Anthony Reid in hot pursuit, and they're now having to mix it with those back markers as well. Gabriele Tarquini, very experienced. He's just biding his time. James Thompson again putting the pressure on Anthony Reid. The Nissan battle goes on, and all three of those cars have Ricard Rydell's Volvo right ahead of them. Now Rydell is trying to pick his way through the tail enders. Now Anthony Reid's headlights come on. He's trying to out-psych both Ricard Rydell and ensure that he's highly visible to those slower moving cars. They go past Jason Plato. He's in the gravel trap at the hairpin. Now riding on the spoiler of Anthony Reid's Nissan. With 2 laps to go, it's the Silver Arrows from Ingolstadt well in control. John Bincliffe and McBeeler are closing on Rob Gravitt's Honda. He is the total cup leader, 16th place overall, and the top non-factory independent cup runner, heading for that £60,000 prize at the end of the season for the champion in that category. But meanwhile, it's the 2 Audis absolutely storming through now, already ahead of Rob Gravitt. And with headlamps ablaze, it is John Bincliffe who is heading his far more illustrious teammate Frank Bieler into the closing stages of this race. Bieler, the 91 German touring car champion, the 93 French touring car champion, the 95 World Touring Car champion, and the 1996 British touring car champion, is being thoroughly outpaced by his young British teammate, who is starting the last lap now, leading his first ever touring car championship race, and it looks set to be taking it to the checkered flag. A superb drive from the Yorkshireman John Bincliffe, swooping down through Duffer Stip for the final time, then the right-hander at McIntyre's, still dropping down the hill, then Butcher's, and up to the left and right, throwing the car just as hard as in the early stages, over the curbs at the chicane, now climbing back up the hill, through the right and the left of the Clark curve, named after the late, great Jim Clark. And it's now flat out for the final time down the railway straight, into the hairpin, Taylor's turn. Again, a very special name from the world of Scottish motorcycle racing. But now it's a very special name from North Yorkshire. It's John Bincliffe heading for his first ever British Touring Car Championship victory. The checkered flag is waved. It's a 1-2 for Audi and a win for John Bincliffe. A superb result for him, but the race most definitely still on. Alan Menu crosses the line in 3rd place, but Rydell, Reid, Thompson and Tarquini are approaching the hairpin, locked together. Anthony Reid very late on the brakes, but it's Ricard Rydell who's got the power down. Reid again blocks off James Thompson, and across the line, covered by less than a second. It's Rydell, Reid, Thompson and Tarquini. And that result lets Rydell keep his championship hopes alive. Alan Menu in 3rd place won't get the title yet, but a superb first win for John Bincliffe, and the applause is well deserved. So, confirmation then of those results. Audi domination with Bincliffe and Bieler. Menu upholding the Renault honours in 3rd, with Rydell heading that train home ahead of Anthony Reid, the 2 Hondas of James Thompson and Gabriele Tarquini, with Kelvin Bird a distant 8th in his Volvo ahead of Derek Warwick and John Cleland. But for every triumph, there's a disappointment in motor racing, and not for the first time this season, it was for Paul Radicic.